Hello and welcome to the next show of Loose Links, the only show in Lincolnshire, Lincolnshire together and built on the campaign of kind. Join us this evening as we talk about a man found guilty for child abuse that happened in the 90s. So we ask, is this good enough? And share our views on the police and CPS. Also, we talk about Samantha Womack as it comes out that she's now got an ex-husband. So I asked the panel, could you be best friends with your ex? Also, we share our views on a new Lincolnshire County Council scheme and asking if this could change us in the year of 2020. So joining me on the panel, Nicholas James, talking about old age, is Kerry Gillespie.
You cheeky so-and-so.
Also, the queen of detectiveness, Abby Victoria. And as we talk about friendships, the man with the most golden heart, James Bency.
Hello.
Good evening, panel. Hello and welcome to the next show. Thank you for joining us. How are we all this evening?
Good, thank you.
Yes? Fantastic. So we'll start with last week's polls. Did you like the introduction, Kerry?
Yeah, it was amazing. Thanks to everyone that's going to view thinking I'm an old hag now. Thank you. Yeah.
Talking about the farmer last week and the baby food, 93% said yes, 7% said no. Also, we talk about the crime. Is it too easy to commit a crime in the year of 2020? 81% said yes, 19% said no. Also, Scarlett Muffet, would you try again, or are you just a give up person? 100% try again, 0% never give up. I think that's the best way looking forward, don't you, panel? Best way looking forward. Never ever give up. So this evening we start with our first topic. Good evening, Pinchbeck. Good evening. To see your first time we've talked about them as a Lincolnshire man is jailed for child abuse that happened in the 90s. He was found guilty, but my question to you guys is this really good enough that actually this man committed this crime in the 90s and has only just been found guilty and sent to prison?
I think it probably wasn't sort of as talked about back then, which is probably why it just sort of got slid under the carpet. And obviously you hear about people that are abused as children and feel that they can't come forward until they're adults. I feel the amount of time he got probably isn't long enough as well, but that's sort of a different subject. But I think that's sort of why it's taken so long. It could be, like I say, it could be that they've only just come forward, so it's actually nothing against sort of the police service or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's different times.
I think people are very aware of this sort of thing going on now as well. You know, it's always gone on, but it wasn't in the mainstream media. You know, you can switch on the news or Facebook almost daily and there's something on there about paedophilia. So people are very aware of it. So it makes people more likely to get caught out. Whereas, you know, in the 90s, you know, I was growing up in the 90s, you never heard of it. It wasn't a thing, even though it was, but you just weren't aware of it. So I think it's very difficult to judge yesterday's news on today's standards.
The only thing that I'm finding quite difficult is there's a programme on Channel 4 at the moment that you can watch on All 4 on catching a child abuser. And what I didn't know as a 30-year-old is that before, this is how uneducated I am about the criminal system, is that before it can go to court, the police need to collect evidence and then it goes to CPS for them to decide if it's enough evidence to go to court. I find that absolutely shocking. I find that the police have to gather evidence, take it to CPS, and then they decide what to do from then on. To me, it sounds like very much two different companies. It doesn't sound like two people working together. And what one of the women said, one of the chief constables said is, moving forward, we have to work more together, because the police work tirelessly to get all this evidence. To me, if you've committed a crime, I don't care how little it is, you're going to bloody court. I don't see why it should. It's like a third party, the CPS. Yeah.
I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Like you say, I was watching a programme the other week, and it was about sex offences, and I think over 1 year there was something like 2,500 that have been the police have been notified about, and with collating evidence and taking them all to the C. Well, not all of them, because they don't all go to CPS, to be honest. But I think at the end of all of that, there was only about 40 people that were charged with that offence. And you know, it's the judicial system. You think, don't you really? You know, people are afraid to come forward, and then if they do come forward and they're not actually given justice at the end of the day for something that's happened to them, must be quite heartbreaking for some people. With regards to this one about the pinchbeck and the guy who was being charged for something that happened in the 90s, I think that's justice at the end of the day. No matter how far back it's happened, at least he's being brought to justice with an offence that he's committed.
I still felt, but the thing is, we haven't moved on from that, have we? Because the thing is, that's my argument, is that people are still getting away with it. People are still getting away with it. And are we going to have like what we're having now, where we go 20 years forward and then we look back on old cases and go, actually, this should have gone to court. This, and we're starting to reopen cases all over again. Are we going to have an incident? I'm really sorry. I'm really passionate about it. Are we going to have an incident like that all over again?
I think a lot of cases are going to be reopened when the evidence hasn't been found, or they've not got enough there. Let's not forget about the police. We're losing police officers. Yeah. We're not manned as much as we used to be. So, you know, even if for instance, I've rang the police myself on certain times to do with my job, it could be, it's not a priority call. We've got other calls that we're doing here, and you know, you're ringing us telling us something's happened. It's not happening right now. We'll send an officer out, or we'll get an officer to contact you. We haven't actually got those officers there as much as we would have years ago anyway. So, you know, how long are you going to wait for a call from the police? Week, 2 weeks? I don't know. Is that person then going to be thinking differently after that point? It's like opening a can of worms, isn't it, really?
Well, I absolutely feel sorry for the victims, because as I've said, I've gone through abuse before, and it's a massive thing to come out. And we're talking about encouraging people, victims, women, men, whatever, victims, to come forward and to say something. But when you've built such courage and such strength to be able to go into a police station and say, this is what's happened to me, and then the CPS to throw it out and go, actually, there's not enough evidence there. You're telling me people are going to walk into a police station and admit it? We're still in the same scenario.
Just to play devil's advocate there, obviously the police and the CPS, they have to be so sure, because it's such an emotive subject, that, you know, if you're accused of something like that and it's not true, it doesn't matter whether you're guilty or not guilty, you're stuck with that forever. So I think, and I'm not sure, but I think it might just be, it's a completely fresh pair of eyes. It's not someone that's done the investigation. It's almost like a judge. Here you go. Here's what we've found. And it's that second line of defence, because people do get wrongly accused. And it's not fair for people to get tarnished with that brush. Just going back to what you were saying about historical cases as well. Unfortunately, it is the nature of the offence, because as Abby said, some people don't feel comfortable coming forwards until you know, they're in their mid to late 20s or 30s. So you're going to get historical cases, I think, no matter what you do, because people just aren't comfortable at 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, to come forwards to say anything. So I think you're always going to get that to a degree, and there's not a lot really you can do about that.
But I'm going to disagree with you, Jeff. Because on that programme, this is the programme that opened up my eyes, really. Because on that programme, that woman was, okay, CPS through it and said not enough evidence. And that woman was in tears on camera just saying, all I wanted was a court case. And if that court case said, no, I'm sorry, not guilty, she said, fine, hands up, done. But it's gone through a process where he's had to prove that he's not doing it. And what upsets me the most is, surely this is encouraging crime, because if CPS are going there, not enough evidence, people are just going to do it time after time after again, surely.
I don't think necessarily that point of view. I think you have to be a certain type of person to, you know, to be interested in children. So I don't think that they're going to look at that and go, oh, I think I'll try my hand at that. You know, it's not that kind of a crime. It's not an opportunity to make money. It's, you know, there's something not right with them. For that poor lady, you know, it won't seem good enough, but I'm sure that there is a reason behind it. They must be there for a reason. And it could be even to protect the police from it to a degree, you know, because they're handing it over. It's independent to the police. It takes it away, because let's face it, the police have got enough to do. Like Kerry said, you know, we don't have the numbers anymore that we used to. So it's going to take a chunk of work away, I suppose, in a way.
Well, I'm sure that it will be on my lips for a very long time from now on, because I've got.
And rightly so, because it's, you know, it's a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah.
And people should talk about it, and hopefully it will make it more acceptable and easier for victims to come forward if people are aware.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And also, if you've got a chance, please take yourself onto All 4 and have a watch that TV programme, because it really does open your eyes. Remember, you're the 5th panel member. There's quite a few different debates there. So come and join us and jump on our topic and tell us what you think of the CPS and the police. Slowly moving on, we're talking about Samantha Wobeck. Bless her heart, she divorced her husband in 2018 in secret. Still live together, still amicable, and she even goes to her ex-husband for advice on new relationships. So, panel, what I'm asking you this evening is, could you be best friends with your ex-partner?
I think it depends how you break up. If you break up, sort of, you both agree and it's just like a love loss, then maybe not best friends. I'm not going to call them for a sleepover sort of thing.
That's a different type of friendship, Abby.
I can invite him over for a sleepover.
Okay.
Shall I say something quickly, Abby?
But, yeah, I'll compose.
Well done.
But you may still like report if you see that. But if it's like you've been cheated on or in an abusive relationship, then no, I don't think you can be.
I think barring the extremes of, you know, abusive relationships, etc., if you've got children with that person, you've got an obligation to cultivate some sort of relationship. You don't have to be best mates, but they have to be treated with a bit of respect, and the children have to see that, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for raising those children, and you want to teach them, you know, the values of respect and how to get along with someone. You know, just because you don't, you know, live with them anymore and you're not in love with them doesn't mean you can't have a relationship, and I think that's important. But equally, I don't think that people should stay in relationships just for the sake of their children, because it gives them the wrong message. If they're unhappy, then, you know, sometimes you have to look after yourself, and that's not being selfish. That's just, you know, you've got a duty to look after yourself too.
I'd agree. I think two different ways, isn't there? One, if you've got children, it's always good to be amicable with the other person, because, you know, you want your children to understand about relationships, don't you? In the fact that when they get older, if they're in a relationship which isn't right, or where there's no love, then they shouldn't have to stay in that, and they should be strong enough to move on from it. It'd be amazing, it'd be fantastic if everyone that come out of a relationship were mates and was amicable, but that's not how it goes at all. I wouldn't class my ex-partner as a best friend. Don't need to.
I don't have children, so I'm coming on the step of not having children. And I've had two significant relationships in my life. And I think I do agree with you out there. I think it's very much how a relationship is finished. But I think it shows the sort of person you are if you've been really hurt and really badly hurt, but you still offer that olive branch. Like for me, you are right. I wouldn't want to be best friends with my exes. An ex is an ex for a reason. But I think it takes a special kind of person. But also, I think it shows the person that you are if you can still be, as you say, amicable with that person. Because I think the thing was for me is that my exes live out of Lincoln now, but my thing in my head was, I don't want it to be awkward if I see you in a Lincoln shop, or if I see you in a nightclub or something. I don't want to be like, need to get out of here quick.
It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that, does it? I think that's it, is that if you walk down the street and you see an ex, then because of the type of person you are, if you're a genuinely nice person, you're going to smile, you're going to say hi in passing. Doesn't mean that you've got to be best friends with them. Other than that, as in keeping in contact, it's not a thing that you have to do. As I say, even if you didn't have children and you broke up on good terms, then there's no harm in, you know what I mean, saying hi to each other or anything like that.
And I think if you break up on bad terms, I think it can still happen, but it's still that important word of time. I think. Well,
yeah, it's time and forgiveness, isn't it? Yeah. I think that's it. You've got to come to it.
Honestly, it's
forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest thing out of it. You come to a point where you think, actually, giving yourself time to come to terms with what's happened, however it has broken down. Yeah. You do get to a point where you think, actually, that's fine. That happened. Doesn't affect me now. And it is a bit like you forgive them in a way.
Plus, you might be a completely different person. If that ex is from a long time ago, if you were 18 and split up with someone and then you see them at 30, you might rekindle a relationship because people change. You know, you're a very different person at 30 to what you are at 18. So you never know.
It's that famous saying, and I absolutely live by it. It's that famous saying of forgive, but not forgotten.
But not forgotten.
I think that is the way you move forward with any ex, really. Amicable, not amicable. You can forgive, but you never ever forget. So you do become that different person.
That's on both sides as well, though, because you're going to have been with that person for a reason. So there will be some good memories there too.
Yeah.
So on both sides of the coin, you shouldn't forget.
No, exactly. Samantha has stated in news, though, that she's been living with her ex-husband. I think he's from Emmerdale. I don't actually know who he is. She's been living with her ex-husband since 2018, and did stay together because of the children, and they found they were better friends than in a relationship. What she did, though, is she's been seeing other people, and before she started to see other people, she's gone to him for advice on what to do and how to go forward, and even asked her ex-husband, tell me what I did wrong in the relationship to make sure I don't do it again. Could any of you do that as a panel?
Nope.
Hold on a minute. No, I agree with James. Exactly that. When you've worded it as in, tell me what I've done wrong in our relationship. Actually, it wouldn't have been the fact that you've done anything wrong. You've just not been a bloody good match. And there's been things there that the other person hasn't liked about you. You can behave exactly the same as you are in a next relationship. And this new partner would not pick up on these wrong things that this ex-partner might have picked up on. So why the hell would you ask for advice from an ex-partner? Because they probably pick up on all your little weak points or negative points, which actually, that's what they are to them. That's not what it is from you.
Yeah. I think it takes a very particular person, doesn't it, really, to go up to an ex-partner and say, I'm seeing somebody else and actually I want your advice on it. I think well,
isn't that what friends are for?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant by ex turning into a friend and then going to ask them. That's what I thought you meant. Yeah. I would sooner. I personally, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go to an ex-partner and say, tell me what I've done wrong. I'm about to see this person. Give me some advice. I would never ever do. As I've said to you all, I think an ex is an ex for a reason. And no, it's just another way, I feel, of opening yourself to get hurt.
Yeah, agreed. Depending on how vindictive that person is.
Yeah.
But I've got a good example, because one of my exes, she used to hate the fact that I cannot shut up. I can't stop singing or whistling, or I'm always doing something. And it used to bug the hell out of her. Now, Gemma, my partner, she's just as likely to burst into song as I am. You know, our house is never quiet. So for what was a real negative for one,
exactly that,
normal life for us.
Exactly, that's exactly the point before, isn't it? Is that it might have been a negative to another person, but actually it's not a mark on you, on how you are. It's just that it wasn't a match with that other person.
Well, I've to be honest, I've found the love of my life now. I'm with Kerry Gillespie, and it's been honest.
No, we're not together. No, let's end that now. I'm going. I'll see you later. I'm off. I'm going to wash my hair.
But tell us what you guys think. Could you be amicable with an ex-partner? Could you go to them for advice on a relationship? Or is it just, can you forgive but not forget? Can you hold out an olive branch when you've been really badly hurt? Tell us what you think, because you're the fifth panel member, so it's really important that we hear from you too. We go to our final town this evening, village. Good evening, Netlham. Hello, good to see you all as we talk about a Lincolnshire County Council's new scheme called the One You Scheme. So the One You Scheme is a healthy lifestyles team that a 72-year-old lady has announced from Netlham that it's finally opened so many doors to her, and in her words, open the curtains in a very dark room. So, panel, do you think this could lower heavy duty on mental health services and even care homes?
I think it will help some. I don't necessarily know if it's robust enough to be a one-size-fits-all, because mental health is a very personal thing. And I don't think that just having someone on the end of the phone will necessarily fix everybody's problems. However, if it helps some people, then how can it be anything but positive? You know, if it's made that much of a difference to that old lady's life, then that could stop her from, you know, going into a care home, or, you know, feeling so lonely that she's got nobody to talk to. And, you know, just having that conversation once a week with someone on the phone could, you know, stop her from losing her mind. So, yeah, that's great. For bigger problems, I don't think it's necessarily going to help, but it's a start.
What do you think, Abby?
I kind of agree with James that for your loneliness, and probably, I think possibly more for the elderly than people like my age. Because I think sort of the elderly like to talk to people over the phone, and I don't like people. You know,
You beat
the less
to it,
people, less people, the better for me. Really.
Okay, Gary, you should meet up with Abby. You should get together.
You said less people, Nick.
I'm old. I need these phone calls. I need this service. So I'm all up for it. I am. It's the start of something, isn't it, for someone? I suppose, like you say, especially over the last few months where there's been a lot of isolation, and it does affect people, and especially older people who maybe don't have a lot of family or no family. It's good as like some kind of company for people. But I think it's also, like James said, it's the start, isn't it? Like the start of the road to recovery for maybe people that are experiencing more in-depth mental health. It's something to start with. And I think,
or even at the end of it.
Well, yeah, and it's just and keeping these changes that you've made maybe already in your life, keeping them going, or making changes at the very beginning to start the process if you're feeling better about yourself and being in a better mood and a better mental health state. As it says, if people want to like read the web page for it, it was just simple changes about getting active, stopping smoking, stopping drinking. You know, just I suppose the easy things, what you'd say, easy things. Don't know if stopping drinking or smoking can be easy for some people, maybe not, but simple steps to start to make you feel better. So it's something definitely worthwhile. It's not going to work for everyone, is it?
Well, what I will do at the end of the show is I will put underneath the link to this service. So if you are interested, please go and take a look at the website, because it'd be really good just to have a look at, and it's worked for so many people. We're going a bit personal with the panel now. Can you remember, as the lady said, can you remember being in a dark room and your curtains being open?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody has trying times in their life, and I think a lot of it depends on the type of people that you've got around you. I was going through a dark period a while ago, and 3 of my mates just turned up at my door, and they came and brightened up my day. I didn't know they were coming, and it just helped pick me up. And it picked me up, but it also encouraged me to talk and express how I was feeling and what was wrong, and just getting it out there, really helped me. I wouldn't say it would help everybody, but that really did help me, because I think everybody at some point or other, unless you're very, very lucky, will experience some sort of mental health issue. Now, a lot of people who haven't had it or don't think they've had it will dismiss that as, you're just sat in a corner rocking with, tablets surrounding you. It's not always like that, and it doesn't always express itself in that way. And like I say, if you're lucky, the people around you will be able to spot it, or you'll have somebody that you can talk to about it, which helps. But I think everybody has a time in their life when they're in that spot.
What about you, Kerry?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm all right, thanks. All right.
So you never had that moment. You've never had that ding sort of moment. Some people don't. Some people.
Well, yeah, along those lines, kind of. Yeah, if you want to put it in that way, yeah, I have. But I deal with it myself. I'm a very private person. I don't go to anyone. I don't speak. I don't ask for advice. No. The way I deal with it needs to be straight in my head before I'm able to move on with something.
Well,
it might take, it takes however long it takes for me to get to that point, and then and by that point, it's not like a curtain open moment for me. It's just like, oh yeah, that happened. I'm all right now. Sounds really silly, you know what I mean? But that could have been a 4 or 5 month process or longer for me to get to that point. And at that point, I'm a bit like, okay, it's all about your brain, isn't it? Where you say it's a bit like something that's happened to you at that point is a bit like a trauma, and until you've got this thought about properly in your mind and you've accepted it and you know that that you're able to move forward, it's then just a memory in your head. So when you do think of this again in the future, it's like a thought. That's all it is. It doesn't promote an emotion. You don't get upset, you don't get angry, you don't get anything like that. Everybody's different. Everybody's mind takes a different amount of time to deal with things, doesn't it?
What about you, Ab?
I feel I'm one of the lucky ones that James was on about. Like, not to brag. I've been upset and I've been down, but I've never been low where I felt that I'm in a dark room on my own and can't see any way forward. Pardon?
It'll come.
I mean, I have, and I just don't realise because it's not as bad as you hear other people talk about it or see on social media. I don't know. But I've never had anything where I felt like so low that I need to go and either speak to someone or be on my own in a room or anything like that.
I absolutely agree with what all of you have said. And I think that I completely agree with James. I think that, Abby, there will be a time in your life where you find that and you question and you need people around you. Completely agree with Kerry on the independence thing and learning to deal with it on your own. And James as well, talking quite deeply about that dark place. I feel like I've been in all three experiences. And it's only taken me to the age of 30, because I think I've told you about hit 30 this year.
You've never told us that. Oh.
It's only taken me to the age of 30 to not be this needy person. And I can now admit that. I think for the last 10 years, I've been very needy in, here's my problem, sort it out. And I think I went through a horrific experience last year, and I did need a lot of help, and I walked out of that experience completely feeling like somebody completely new. Like I didn't need people to fix me anymore. I could stand up for myself a little bit more and go, no, actually, I'm not taking that, bugger off. But it took me a very, very long time to get to that point. So I do feel like it's a bit of a road. Yeah. Okay.
You're right. It is a road, and I think for me, by the time I got there, it was a lot of bumps in the road that led me to that point. It wasn't one big cataclysmic event. It was a combination of things over years that had just built up and built up and built up. And the worst thing for me was feeling like you said that, somebody needs to, fix my problems for me, and feeling like you're burdening somebody else with it. And it's hard to talk to somebody sometimes because your pride creeps in and you don't want to, people to think that, you're weak because it's not weakness. I only encourage people, if you're not one of those lucky people like Kerry, who can internalise and fix it all in your head, just talk to somebody, find somebody you trust enough to talk to, and they will help you.
Yeah, completely and utterly agree. That brings us to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us out there this evening. You've been absolutely incredible. Thank my panel for sharing their views this evening. Actually, I've really enjoyed tonight. Has anybody else?
Yeah, you don't have to sound so surprised.
It's like, I knew that was going to happen.
No, you're all.
Yes, very good, very much. Thank you. I've enjoyed it very much.
Thank my panel, please. James Bensley for joining us this evening. Thank you, James. Abby Victoria. Thank you, Abby. And Kerry Gillespie. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Join us next week, where the Queen of Benefit Street is back. Dee Kelly is joining us with Joe Lloyd and James' partner. So we might dig a little bit more deeper. Gemma evening. Gemma Love is here this evening. So join us next week for all that gossip, all that talk. Put the kettle on. I'm ready for it already. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.